Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Okay, after the birthdays, the leader shares. I guess I'm the leader too, so I have to keep talking. I was really nervous when I was asked to come up here and share because I've been to this meeting a lot, probably, I'd say since I got sober, I've been to this meeting for about the last 2 years. And I used to come like every weekend. I used to hit it with my buds. I remember Max taking me here my first time, and he's here tonight. And when I first got sober, I really didn't know what I was doing. I'll start out like at the beginning when I started using. I started using when I was like, I think 12. I was raised Jewish, and I was at a bar mitzvah, and there were little shots of whiskey and stuff, so we'd sneak shots and going out, and I just remembered that it was a lot of fun. And as I continued living, as we all do, hopefully, I got into high school and everything. When I got into high school, like the coolest thing to do was like to smoke weed, and I wanted to do it so bad. I was really involved with sports and everything, and I smoked my first time after my first game of football in high school. There was a gang member, and he was like, "Oh yeah, dude, try this out, whatever." So I smoked some weed. By the fourth year of high school, I had been to 6 different high schools, and my senior year, I'd graduated to other substances like crack cocaine. Of course, I would drink every opportunity I could, but I still couldn't purchase alcohol yet, so I just got the things that I was able to. So I ended up in rehab my senior year of high school, graduated from high school in rehab, and then I spent New Year's of 2000 in rehab. And over the next 12 years, I pretty much went to a lot of rehabs. I spent most of the time in rehab. I was in rehab for like the terrorist attacks in 2001. I can just tell you all these like big events where, yeah, Josh was in rehab for those. So, after going to like so many rehabs, I went to one called Wilderness Treatment Center. We were out like in the middle of Montana in like 10-foot deep snow and trekking like in the middle of the wild, not having any toilet paper. And you'd think after doing something like that I'd stay sober, but I didn't. I can't tell you that I did. And my father was an addict, so he went to rehab, and that was it for him. Like, and he actually stayed sober. But for me, I was, I guess, they call me a chronic relapser, and I continued to go out and to go out and to go out, and I was just miserable for a very long time. And every time I would come back into the rooms, it would be because something really bad happened. It'd be like, oh well, I got in a wreck, or this girl dumped me, or whatever. And when I got into the rooms, I was like, yeah, man, I got like how it works memorized, dude, and I learned this in rehab, and I know all this stuff, and I thought I knew everything, and I was very, very wrong. And for a long time, I kept, coming to meetings, then I'd go use after, or I go drink after. And when I got into college, that's when my drinking really started taking off. Like, I had heard people in meetings talk about like DTs and all that, and then I started having them, and that was not very fun. So I don't know how I got through college, but I did. And I got out of college, and I'm living at my sponsor's house in Cedar Park in Texas. And I'm just like, I was working for this group of oral surgeons, and I would get one of the girls that worked with me would like steal the drugs, and she'd be like, oh yeah, try this. And so I was doing like all different kinds of drugs. I didn't even know what they were. And I was just in a really bad place. And I don't know, living at my sponsor's house, I was like, I really don't know what I want to do with the rest of my life. I had worked in retail for a little while. It pretty much is just misery up until the point I got sober. Like, it's just bad story after embarrassing moment. Just really, I remember I've had a couple motorcycles and I totaled them and just a whole bunch of bad stuff. So when I was staying at my sponsor's house, I applied to dental school, because I thought that's what I wanted to do. And I sent out like 17 applications, and I got into one school here in LA, actually. And so I was like, oh, well, that's what I'll do. I'll just go to dental school, and it'll be a lot of fun. And I got into school, and I just remember when I got the acceptance letter, like, I looked at the wine that I had just bought at the liquor store, and I looked at the acceptance letter, and I was like, this can stop right now, and you can go on to have like a fantastic career, as a dentist. And I drank the wine. I was like, well, I can, maybe I can just try doing both. So I drank the wine. And needless to say, I got into my truck with my dad, and we drove out here from Texas. And I really didn't know what to expect. And I lived with an upperclassman from school, and I was introduced to methamphetamine. And the dealer ended up living right behind me, so I got really, really into meth for a while. And I lost like 35 pounds, like my first trimester of school. And I just remember being in this class with my friends, seeing like meth mouth and like how to like diagnose it and treat it. And I'm like looking around like, oh man, like I hope no one, But I pretty much dropped out of school, and I lost everything that there was to lose again. That had happened to me in high school when I went to rehab the first time when I was doing like crack or whatever. And then it happened again. I have found that regardless of the substance, they all do the same, whether it's alcohol, heroin, meth, crack. Like, I will just continue to pursue the substance until there is no more. And when nothing else was around, alcohol was always my crutch. Alcohol was always there. I never had to bring the Jim Beam back to the liquor store and say, hey man, you sold me some bad stuff, dude. I want my money back. So, alcohol was there throughout my entire deal. And I kind of spiraled downward, and my life was just terrible. I dropped out of school, and the school I was going to was like $100,000 a year. So, I was in quite a bit of debt. And, I thought, maybe I need to go to rehab, so I went back to rehab, and I left rehab, and I just continued the same thing. And then I went to a place called Teen Challenge. It's here in LA, and apparently they're all over the world. And then I left there, and, still no avail. At some point I'd gone to Australia because I met a girl in Australia on Facebook. Who does that, But I was just looking for a way out. I was looking for an escape. I just didn't want to continue to suffer the way I had, just pitiful, incomprehensible demoralization like my entire life. So my mom knew this dentist in Africa, right? And she was like, you should go to Africa. And I was like, I'm not going to Africa. And my grandma's sitting down with me, and she's like, yeah. By this time, I was living with my grandmother and using in her house, and I don't know why she didn't kick me out, but she's like, yeah, you should go to Africa. You'll find a wife there, and, you'll be real happy. And I'm just like, yeah, sure, So I don't know. Somehow she managed to get me on the plane to go to Africa. And I get there, and I was trying to get, like, drugs before I got on the plane, and I wasn't able to. And I just remember I drank on the plane on the way there, and I got there, and I was just like really hungover. I laid in bed for about a day, and then my friend Mike, he's like, dude, get up, we're going to the office. And so he had a Bible school and a dental office, like together in one. And so I started going to like these Bible school classes and working at this dental office, and I didn't really know what I was doing, but I'd been a dental assistant for a long time, and he was like, I'd ask him every couple minutes, hey, this this kind of looks weird. What do I do about this? He's like, oh, just take it out, So, so I got my firsthand experience, like really being able to like serve people in Africa. And it was really rewarding. We went on like all these dental camps where we'd go and see like tons of like these kids and stuff. And I started going to Bible school, and I was raised Jewish my entire life. And it's part of my story. I'm not trying to like preach anything, but I gave like my heart to Jesus and I got baptized. And it's like after that point, before I left Africa, I was like, Mike, what happens if I go back? He's like, you have it in you now. You got baptized. You have like the Holy Spirit in you. So if you go back, you'll know. And I had no idea what he was talking about. I was like, dude, I just want to stay sober. That's it. And I met a whole bunch of really cool people in Africa, and it really spurred some things that I'll talk about in a second. How much longer do I have? I don't even know. Sorry, I haven't been timing. 7 minutes. Okay. So I came back here from Africa, and on the plane, I got totally plastered. And I was like, what is going on? And I got back here, and I, got back into dental school. I had taken a leave of absence for a year. I got back into dental school, and, I started the same thing over again. But this time it was just alcohol. It's just vodka. That's it, And when I was in college, I just remember having like a fifth or whatever in my freezer, and I'd polish like the whole thing off like in a really short amount of time. And I found myself doing that when I got back into dental school, and I was like, how did this happen? How am I drinking so much after like staying sober? I don't get it. And I tried to go to a couple meetings, and I stopped. And eventually I started smoking a little bit of weed, and then I was back on meth, and I was like, here we go again. It's just going to be the same thing that happened again, and I don't know why, why I keep doing this to myself. And I went to, I was just like pretty much desperate for anything. And by this point, I had done so much meth that I was getting like psychosis, where you stay up for like a really long time, and then you start like hearing voices and stuff and having like auditory hallucinations and all this. And I still had them in Africa because I had used so much before, but now they were coming back, and they got really bad. And I couldn't focus in school because I'd be like in class and I'd be hearing people talking to me and stuff. And I went to this meeting, a meeting that they actually have at the school, and there was a guy there named Justin. And I shared a little bit in the meeting, and then afterwards I was like, hey dude, can I talk to you for a second? And he was like, yeah, sure, man. So we walked out, we started talking, he's like, get in the car. So I got in the car with him, and I just let it all out, I'm hearing all these voices, and I don't want to tell anyone, and just like all this stuff. I was 100% honest with him, and I just like totally poured my heart out, and I was crying and everything. And he's like, well, the same thing's probably going to happen, blah, blah, blah. But, the fact is that I was 100% honest with another human being, and they happen to be in this program. And I think, it's from that day forward, I have not used. I knew what to do because I'd been to so many rehab centers, and I found a guy to work with, and he kept not meeting up with me, and I just wanted to work all the steps and get all the way through this time, because I knew that I had a shot if I could just get to step 12. And I found another sponsor, and he kept like flaking out on me, and I finally found a sponsor that lived right across the street from me. So every morning before I'd go to school, I'd do my step work. And then after school, I'd go over to my sponsor's house, and I just worked the 12 steps as fast as I could, because I knew that it was like life or death. And I got all the way through, and then I started helping other guys through the steps. And a lot of really cool stuff has happened. I ended up meeting my wife in Africa. Yeah, I met her. She was a missionary there, and she taught at a school. And I brought her back here, and I married her in Santa Barbara last year. I ended up getting a lot better grades in school. I don't really know how, and now I'm applying for residency in oral surgery. I have a scholarship that covers my entire tuition, and I get a stipend every month on top of that. And like it all just happened really fast, but it was a result of working this program to the best of my ability and going out of my way 100% for other people in this program. That's my purpose here, is to serve you guys and God, and try to, you know, be used as a vessel, you know, for God. Like that's what I'm living for. And I'm very fortunate that I get to go to school. And you know, it's funny because I have patients that are like, I have a patient that's like a sponsee, and I have one that I met in like the emergency part, and I was like, hey, are you a friend of Bill? Because your medical history looks like, you know, you're on like some weird medications here. She's like, yeah, you can't give me Vicodin. I'm like, I won't. And so I get to like interact with people in the program, even at school, which is a real blessing, and I get to serve and like live and help other people to have a better life, like when I'm here in the rooms and when I'm trying to get an education. And you know, yesterday, actually my birthday was the 30th, and yesterday I was sitting outside of school and eating this sandwich, and someone came up to me. It's like, man, that's a really good sandwich. You know, where'd you get that? I was like, my wife made it for me, bro. And I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, I almost started crying. I'm like, I can't believe this all happened, and I didn't even have a sandwich, you know. I was like, this is crazy. But it was just a result of working this program to the best of my ability. You know, I wake up in the morning, and I get on my knees as fast as I can, and I say the third step prayer, and then I meditate for, I've gotten up to 10 minutes. It didn't start like that, you know, it started at like 30 seconds. But you know, I practiced for a long time, and now I can do it for like 10 minutes. And I call 7 guys every day, like throughout the day, like these 3 right here. I've called them every day for like 2 years. I go to like Africa or like Costa Rica or like Honduras, you know, I'll get a SIM card, and I don't care how much it costs. I'll still call these guys. Sometimes I'm like, it's really expensive, so I'm gonna have to call you every 2 days. But my heart is 100% in the program, and I know it has to come first. And before I married my wife, I was like, look, you know, babe, this is how it is, okay? You know, God's first, and then there's this program, and it has to come before everything else, because that's the only way that I am who I am today. And I'm still learning a lot about myself, and I still get to do my 10-step every night. And write down like the character defects that I see. I have pluses and minuses, you know, where I see credits or whatever. And I still get to carry the message to other alcoholics, you know. And it's really, really rewarding. And it's like when I first started, if you're new, like it doesn't, you know, I used to be able to fix the way that I was feeling with drugs like that. You know, I could do it really fast. But this program has fixed the way that I feel, but I just had to have a lot of patience and faith that it could work for me too. And just by being persistent and trying my hardest just to do, you know, things for you guys and for others instead of me, it's brought me all this way, and I wasn't even trying to. You know, if when I got sober, I just wanted my old life back. Like, I just wanted to be able to like drink and not smoke weed or, you know, whatever. I thought, you know, oh, well, I'm going to get sober, so I'm going to get a like winning lotto ticket. I'm going to buy a Lambo. I'm going to live, you know, in a nice house and all this. And, you know, even if all that stuff would have happened, it wouldn't be nearly as cool as what I have today. God had something in mind that, like, I could have never planned, and I'm grateful that it happened the way that it did. But if you're new, you know, it gets better. It really does, but it just takes time. So be patient and keep coming back. Yeah.
Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.